The summer heat was still clinging to the asphalt when I moved into Maple Grove, a cookie-cutter suburban neighborhood where every lawn looked like it was competing for a magazine cover. I'm Jake, 34 single, and I'd just snagged my first house, a fixer-upper with a killer backyard. I'm not one for manicured hedges or HOA rulebooks, but I figured I'd play nice with the Maple Grove Homeowners Association. That lasted about 2 weeks. It started with a frisbee. My buddy Matt and I were tossing it around one Saturday, laughing, maybe a bit loud, when Karen stormed over. Karen Mitchell, the HOA president, was a walking stereotype mid-50s, bleached blonde bob, and a permanent scowl that could curdle milk. "No lawn games," she barked, waving a laminated rulebook like it was the Constitution. "They're a nuisance and damage the grass." I blinked, thinking she was joking. Damage the grass. It was a frisbee, not a monster truck rally. I tried reasoning, but Karen's eyes narrowed like I'd just spat on her petunias. "Follow the rules, or there'll be fines," she snapped before marching off, her flip-flops smacking the pavement. I let it slide. But the next weekend, I set up a cornhole board for a small BBQ. Nothing crazy, just me, Matt, and a couple of neighbors sipping beers and tossing beanbags. By Monday, I had a $200 fine in my mailbox for unauthorized recreational activity. Karen's signature was scrawled at the bottom like a royal decree. I called her, keeping my tone polite, and asked for a compromise. Maybe a designated game day. Her response: "Rules are rules. Jake, you're new here. Learn your place." That's when I knew this wasn't about grass. It was about control. Karen didn't just enforce HOA rules. She wielded them like a scepter. And I was the peasant who dared to toss a beanbag in her kingdom. The fines kept coming. A wiffle ball game with my nephew, $150. A soccer ball kicked around with Matt's kid, another $200. I paid them, gritting my teeth. But my backyard, my pride and joy, was turning into a prison yard. I started digging into the HOA bylaws, poring over the fine print like a lawyer. That's when I found it a loophole. The rules banned temporary recreational setups but said nothing about permanent structures. If I built something fixed, like a patio or a court, it was technically allowed as long as it met zoning codes. A light bulb went off. Bocce. It's classy, low-key, and most importantly, played on a permanent court. Karen couldn't find me for a concrete slab in my own backyard. I spent weeks planning. I got permits from the city, hired a contractor, and ordered materials. The goal wasn't just a bocce court. It was a middle finger to Karen's reign of terror. I kept it quiet, working under the radar. But Karen's radar is apparently military grade. The day the concrete mixer rolled in, she was at my fence, her face redder than a stop sign. "What's this?" she demanded, pointing at the gravel pile. I smiled, all innocence. "Just improving my property, Karen. Perfectly legal." She sputtered, flipping through her rule book. But I'd done my homework. The city had signed off, and the HOA couldn't touch me. That didn't stop her from sending daily inspections, snapping photos and muttering about aesthetic violations. I ignored her, pouring my energy into the court, a smooth, 60-foot rectangle of concrete, framed with cedar, ready for some serious bocce action. The real escalation came when Karen slapped a cease and desist letter on my door, claiming the court was disrupting neighborhood harmony. Harmony. The only thing disrupted was her ego. I decided to push back. Hard. I'd throw a grand opening for the court, a block-wide bocce tournament, complete with music, food, and enough noise to make Karen's head explode. I printed flyers, knocked on doors, and rallied every neighbor who'd ever rolled their eyes at an HOA fine. The plan was simple: make it big, make it loud, and make it legal. But I needed one more jab to seal the deal. That's when I got the spray paint. The night before the tournament, I crept out to Karen's precious HOA welcome sign at the neighborhood entrance, a polished wooden monstrosity engraved with Maple Grove, a community of excellence, under the cover of darkness. I sprayed in bold red letters, "Few HOA Bocce forever. Childish sure." Satisfying hell? Yeah. I didn't stop there. I strung fairy lights around the court, set up speakers, and invited every neighbor except Karen. By noon the next day, my backyard was a circus. 50 people showed up: kids, grandparents, even the quiet guy who never leaves his house. We played bocce, grilled burgers, and blasted classic rock. The court was a hit, and the vibe was pure freedom. Karen showed up around dusk, her face a storm cloud. She stood at the fence, screaming about fines and lawsuits, but nobody cared. The neighbors were too busy laughing, clinking beers, and cheering as Matt sank a perfect bocce shot. Then someone spotted the defaced sign. Word spread, and the crowd roared with laughter. Karen's eyes locked on me, and I just shrugged. Free speech. Karen, look it up. She stormed off, probably to write another toothless letter. The party raged until midnight, and the court became a neighborhood legend. Karen tried fining me for the sign $500, but I lawyered up, and the HOA backed off when they realized I'd documented every step of the court's construction. Legally, they had nothing. The fallout Karen's grip on the HOA loosened. Neighbors started questioning her at meetings, and last I heard, she's on thin ice as president. My backyard's now the go-to spot for bocce nights, and every game feels like a small victory. I didn't just build a court, I built a community. And that spray-painted sign, it's still there, faded but proud. A reminder that sometimes the best revenge is living well and throwing a damn good party. So, what do you think? Was I the jerk for going full petty, or was Karen asking for it? Drop your take below. I'm all ears. The end.